Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Clubhouse Picks brought to you by Godzilla Wins. I'm your host, Jack Fredericks, editor of GodzillaWins.com, where you can get all of your sports picks and predictions on everything from the NBA to the UFC. Clubhouse Picks is your go-to podcast for PGA predictions, tournament previews, and salty picks for the veteran golf fan. It is a lovely Tuesday evening in Mississippi on May 23rd, and we're here to give you our picks and predictions for that's right, Charles Schwab Challenge at Colonial Country Club. Say that 5 times fast. I'm here today with my co-host, the one and only Nate Perry, the greatest handicapping caddy west of the Rockies. Welcome to the show, Nate.
Happy to be here, man, as always.
Happy to have you. We're going to talk about the PGA Championship in just a minute. But before we do that, we need to thank one of our sponsors, Birch Gold. Listen, everyone, inflation has consequences as the Fed raises interest rates to combat out of control government spending. Long-term bonds have diminished in value, crippling banks. Depositors are holding their breath and investors are bailing on bank stocks. Diversification has never been more important. The recent surge in gold prices is directly tied to the extreme market volatility right now. That's why gold has historically been a great hedge against the stock market and against inflation. Now would be a great time to diversify into gold with the Birch Gold Group. Here's what you got to do. Go to or text Godzilla to 989898. That's 989898. Text Godzilla to 989898 to get a free info kit on gold. They'll help you convert your existing IRA or 401k that's tied to a volatile market into an IRA in physical precious metals, gold and silver. And the best part is it's tax sheltered. Text Godzilla to 989898. That's Godzilla 989898 to claim your free info kit today. All right, Nate, we are here talking a little bit of golf, doing some handicapping. We are starting to warm up a little bit, just to tout for just a minute.
Thank God for Elizabeth.
Thank God for Elizabeth. But
got us a winner.
Our hot streak really started with the Preakness, even though it's not golf. We hit some winners there. You had National Treasure, which we talked about on the Godzilla Wins Picks show. If you're listening on YouTube, you can find the Godzilla Wins Picks show under the radio show podcast or playlist. And I had the number two horse Blazing Sevens. So, you're talking horse racing, can't get better than 1 and 2 there. Good for us. And then, PGA, thank God for Elizabeth. So we had Elizabeth Veith on last week, and she talked us into Brooks Koepka. He was 22-1. We wrote him up for the website, GodzillaWins.com. And look, he did what Brooks does. He won his 5th major. Live Tour, definitely some questions about his health as he's coming back from injuries. Always, this year's looked much better than years past. One of the reasons we think he maybe left for the Live Tour was because of the injuries. He thought maybe he was washed a little bit, and he wanted to make sure he made some money. What does this, Nate, say about just Brooks's career? I mean, it's his 5th major, but is it any more significant than the other 4?
I think so. I mean, I think that it's significant because it validates Live, right? It makes it clear that the PGA Tour, as much as they would love to, as much as they've sort of groused about it, they cannot shut them out now. It just can't happen. And I was reading something. I think it was Jason Sobel saying it, and it was interesting, where he said that majors somehow, as sort of reluctant as a lot of people that are fans of the PGA Tour, maybe sort of skeptical of Live is the majors feel even bigger now than they did a year or 2 ago, because there were still tournaments where we'd see all the best players in the world play each other in non-major settings. Now we only see it 4 times a year. They feel even bigger, and that's really cool in terms of just consuming these majors. But I mean, Brooks is now in rarefied air. I mean, there's 12 guys with more majors than him in golf history, and of the guys that have won 5 or more majors, there's nobody that's done it faster than Brooks, from the time they won their first one to the time they won their 5th one. So that's gigantic,
including Tiger.
Well, maybe Tiger,
or is it not including Tiger?
Not including Tiger. I think Tiger has more. But I was just looking at this active streak, and he won his first in 2017, and now he's got 5. That's huge. In an era where all we talk about is guys you know, the product is so good. There's so many guys that can win. Scotty's great. Rahm's great. You know, when Brooks first came on the scene, Rory was great. You know, Bryson's had his run since then. All of those guys, and of all of them, Brooks has more majors. You know, and that's just wild to think about. You know, Spieth, all of that, and for Brooks to be the one that's sort of the major king right now in active golf is nuts. For a guy that doesn't have very many tour victories, I think he has 9 or 10 total, and 5 of them are majors. That's nuts. So
just to focus on his golf for the weekend, I mean, so tee to green, strokes gained tee to green at what was an incredibly difficult course at Oak Hill, plus 3.66. Off the tee, we always know he's strong off the tee, plus 1.20. That wasn't the best, but pretty high up there. Strokes gained approach, plus 1.33. Strokes gained around the green, plus 1.13, and that might be the best. Okay, Harold Varner. A couple other guys are like Matthew Fitzpatrick. Like they're a little bit better than him. But as far as like the leaderboard goes, I mean, he was incredible around the green, which was a very difficult thing for these guys to do
with that rough,
at Oak Hill.
Oh my God, yeah.
And that's the thing that I love about Brooks. It's not just that he has 5 majors. That would be impressive if it were any of the major courses, but he has won some tournaments where nobody is shooting more than 2 under because the course is so difficult.
And that's when he's the best.
It is when he's the best. And it shows you how good he is. And when his mind is right, how locked in he can be. He knows that he can win a major when the championship score is going to be 8 under. Mm-hmm. He might not be able to go out and fire off a 63 every day if it's just raining birdies, but he's a grinder. And this was an incredible achievement just at this course. One of the things we've talked about with Liv is that they only play 3 days a week. You know, Keith Fleming, who's incredible and has hit a lot of guys in the past couple weeks, was on this show a couple weeks ago saying, listen, the problem with Liv is they don't play 4 rounds, so I'm not going to bet these guys because they're going to fall apart on Sunday. Brooks was sort of shaky at the Masters, but not really. But for a tournament like this, where he's got Scotty Scheffler on his heels and Victor Hovland, 2 of the best golfers in the world, that shows just how good he is. Now, everybody else on the list, I don't know. They weren't even close. I mean, you know, I love Sepp Straka, but I'm not like impressed that Brooks beat Sepp in a major.
Right. And like, and as you get like, you know, after those first 3 guys, when you kind of are thinking about it, it's like, they weren't really competitive. Like they never really felt like, you know, like Sepp Straka was going to be a guy that could contend here, or like Kurt Kitayama or whatever. Like they never felt like they were really in it. It was just those.
Not 3. Too much on my boy Kurt Kitayama. You know, I think, look, he posted a 5 under on Sunday. I think he thought he was going to be in it. You know, he's feeling good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's thrilled about his top 5 major finish, but you know, I mean, he was never going to like take Brooks down.
I mean, it was an incredible feat. I'm happy for Brooks. I still don't think he's the best. Like, I wouldn't even put him in a major as like the best golfer in the world. Like, he doesn't get to be, especially because he's on Liv, he doesn't get to be like plus 850. No. But you can't count him out in any of these majors, especially if he's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, and now he is, and it's like, you know, when we wrote him up on the site, you know, when I was kind of summarizing all of our picks, it was like, the thing about Brooks is form doesn't matter. When he won that second US Open, he was like 40-1. Because he'd played like junk, and then he came out and just destroyed everyone at Shinnecock. It's just, it doesn't matter for him. He's the only guy that you can say that about. It's just, it seems like it's just all mindset with him. There's nothing else, you know, sort of to say about it. Like, other than that, it's just, he just changes, and he's the only one that does that. Dustin Johnson doesn't do that. Not even like Rory or Scotty or Rahm do that. It's just Brooks, where he comes in, he's playing like garbage, or he's not really focused, and then he just light switch, and it happens.
All those other guys you mentioned have to be trending in the right direction, and even
Yeah,
then,
like they have to have
sometimes
some
they still
results.
struggle. I mean, Rahm looked amazing until Oak Hill, so it's just he's the only one who's like that. Now, here's another question for you. Then we'll get to Michael Block, which was another incredible story.
Mhm.
What do we do with the live guys at majors? Because he wasn't the only one who finished in the top 10. Once again, in a major, Bryson DeChambeau, who was our leader, basically the clubhouse leader on Thursday, and was in the tournament the whole time, T4. He looks healthy. Cam Smith, T9.
Mhm.
Those are 3 guys in the top 10. There's only 40 guys on the live tour. Like, what do we do with these live guys in majors?
Yeah, I mean, even Mito Pereira and Patrick Reed played okay. You know, they were both tied for 18th. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, our strategy thus far this season has been just like basically throw them out. I don't think we can do that anymore. But it's still just tricky. I mean, I guess like what I have to do is just start watching more live golf and just sort of understand what's going on with these guys, first of all. And then second of all, I don't think we can discount him anymore. I mean, Brooks brought so much legitimacy to it. I mean, Phil Mickelson must be giddy, and maybe Greg Norman isn't going to get fired now. You know, I mean, that's bottom line on this stuff.
The PGA, the presentation of the trophy was kind of interesting, pretty awkward between the president and Brooks. You could see that he wasn't super thrilled to be presenting Brooks with the trophy. I don't know what he expected. At some point, one of those guys were going to win. There's nothing more infuriating than a T18 Mito Pereira, because I hammered him at the Masters and all he did was disappoint me. And now he comes out at a more difficult course and plays well.
Yeah.
So, however, I did have like Bryson. I think I picked Bryson. I did. And
yeah, you like Bryson.
I liked him. I liked him for that course, and I thought he'd do well. And he was T4. I mean, I had him. I believe I recommended like a top 20 bet. So I definitely hit that. But even so, I mean, I had him outright, and he was pretty close. So that was pretty much my only guy in contention last week. I don't think I had anybody else. I'm looking at the list. I don't see anyone you had.
No, not a good week for me.
Not a good week for you, but that's why we have 2 people on here. So one of us can have a good week and one of us can have a bad week. And I'm still not recommending anyone bet Patrick Reed ever. I don't care how well he does at the PGA.
No,
like that's just not fun to.
Sometimes you just got to take a stand.
Yeah, that's where I take a stand.
That's
Patrick
me too.
Reed. Yeah, Augusta's only son. Okay, let's go to Michael Block. So tell us about our boy Michael Block, who's going to be playing in the Charles Schwab Challenge this week.
So Michael Block has been the hot story on the internet. If you've been living under a rock or don't follow golf Twitter, golf Instagram, you might not know about him. But he's the head club pro at Arroyo Trabuco in Southern California. And he's played in I think that was I think this week is going to be his 25th tour start. So he's played in a few. He mostly gets into like the Amex, like some Southern California tournaments through sectional stuff, which is the PGA Club Pros. They get a couple exemptions. The dude's definitely got game, but I mean, this is the best finish for a club pro in the PGA Championship since like the early 80s. So it's been like over 30 years since this has happened, almost maybe 40 years. So it's a huge story. I mean, it was just so awesome to watch. He was just like the everyman. He was living the tin cup dream is what he was doing. I mean, it was the guy that, you know, they're asking him like, what's your practice routine? Like, how do you get up for this? And he's like, dude, I'm lucky if I hit 1 bucket of balls a week. He's like, maybe. He's like, I start every day at 8 o'clock. I do payroll, 9:30, go teach lessons, eat some lunch, do a little bit more office work, ordering whatever, folding shirts, go back out, do lessons for a few more hours, go home with my kids. Like, you know, my kids come to the golf course, I give them lessons, then we go home. And that's like his day. Like, he's not a tour pro. He doesn't have an entourage. He doesn't have a coach. There's no physical therapist for him. He's just a dude. And he's just a dude that had the week of his life at the PGA Championship en route to finishing in the top 15, which gets him in next year. So he's already qualified for the PGA next year. He doesn't have to get through via the Club Pro Championship, which he did this year. And then, obviously he gets the sponsors exemption this week when Parker Cootie pulled out so that he could focus on Corn Ferry stuff. And it's an awesome story. And I mean, it's cool to see someone who it means so much to. I mean, every time they talk to me, you just start crying. I mean, I'm sure you saw those interviews.
Yeah, I did. It was incredibly inspiring. And one of the reasons we love the PGA Championship, because you do get to see these guys play for exemptions. And every year there's someone who makes the cut and who's kind of sniffing around and then falls off usually. We really haven't seen someone like Michael Block. He aced
the 15th hole. Yeah, he aced the par 3, and then Rory came up to give him a hug, and he's like, "Why is Rory giving me a hug?" And he like looks at him, and you can see it on the camera. He goes, "Did that go in?" And Rory's like, "Yeah." He didn't even know it was in. He thought he hit it 10 feet.
Yeah, not only that, I think it dropped straight in the cup.
Yeah, it was just a slam dunk, just boom right in the back.
So it's an incredible story. It's a lot of fun to watch.
And by the way, he made $288,000, which is no insignificant sum for a guy that is a club pro.
My God, yeah.
Also huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And hopefully, he is able to compete more, because obviously if you can do this at Oak Hill, you probably should be on tour. So we'll see what he does at Charles Schwab. What do you think? I mean, a lot of people are picking him because, like, why not? He's like plus 600 to 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
Any thought to a top 40 or make the cut?
I mean, I think it's reasonable to make the cut. I mean, and he knows it too, because they had the phone call recorded when the tournament director for the Charles Schwab Challenge called him to offer them the last spot in the tournament. And he was like, "I've heard Colonial's like a good spot for an old pro like me." Because I mean, Michael Block's 46. He doesn't hit the ball very far. I mean, he hits it, long enough, but he's not, pounder. And he's like, I'd love to. And I think that it's fair to think that he just continues playing well. Colonial's a tough golf course. Colonial's one of the tougher golf courses they play. If he can play Oak Hill in that fashion, I mean, provided he just has like some adrenaline left at all, I think that it's like not unreasonable that he makes a cut.
I think he probably makes the cut. I think I don't like to play the adrenaline game. I'm gonna talk about that a little bit later, because I think it's kind of unless the statistics back it up, it's just kind of stupid. I don't know how these guys are. Brooks looked pretty locked in at that Florida Panthers game, and
he looked extremely locked in.
A lot of adrenaline at the Panthers game, and I expect him to be fine this week in his live tournament. I'm not saying he's gonna win, but I just don't like playing the adrenaline game. I feel like he'll be fine. That's Michael Block, and I like him to make the cut at this tournament. And then, like, why not? The part of golf is like, you bet the guys you want to cheer for, and why wouldn't you want to cheer for this guy? Like, at the very least, you got 2 days where you're cheering for him to make the cut, and if he does, you make a little bit of plus money, and you get out of there. I'm not expecting him to win the tournament, but man, oh man, wouldn't that be fun?
Oh my God, yeah. But I mean, he's plus 300 just to finish in the top 40, so like that's kind of fun.
Yeah,
just to root for a good guy that's like, he could just be your club pro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They had videos at his home course, and it was packed, and everyone went nuts. Someone was filming when he made the hole in one, and people were going crazy, and that was awesome to watch.
Well, listen, what I hope he does, Michael Block, is I hope he goes and gets himself some Beard Vet coffee and locks in to the Colonial course there in Fort Worth and gets us that top 40. I'm drinking some Beard Vet coffee right now, Nate. Listen up, Patriots. Are you tired of drinking coffee from mega corporations that don't give a rip about you? Well, then you got to put down that cup of regret and grab yourself some Beard Vet coffee. I'm telling you guys, it is darn good coffee from a company that is veteran founded, veteran focused, and beard operated. If you have a great beard like me, you got to love Beard Vet. And let's be real. If you're not drinking Beard Vet, you might as well be sipping on a cup of burnt soy and tears. So join the ranks of the unapologetic. Go to beardvet.com. That's beardvet.com and taste the freedom. Go get yourself some Beard Vet coffee. I love Beard Vet coffee. I drink it all the time. It always just, it's good coffee. The beans are nice and oily. I grind them up in the morning. I get about 4 or 5 cups in me, and then I win the day, as always. Lock in for the Preakness Stakes of the golf. Absolutely. Or whatever I'm telling you. 4 or 5 cups for me, that's like just a starter. If I'm really in my coffee addiction, which is one of my strongest habits, these days. It's I take 4 or 5 just to get me out of bed. I might do 8 or 9 by the time the day's over, sometimes 12. Certainly back when I was seeing a Colombian, we used to drink a lot of coffee. Those Colombians, they get on that stuff early and often. And I only drink Beard Vet, so I keep them in business. Okay, Nate. We got the Chan Cam. Where is Chan Kim this week?
Chanimal is in Knoxville, Tennessee this week, competing in the Corn Ferry. We're still trying to get some status here. So we are at the Visit Knoxville Open at Holston Hills Country Club. Okay finish last week. It wasn't great. I think we were kind of mid-pack. But we're looking to build on it. It was really just a tough final round. +1, and those Corn Ferry events, you really got to just go low. So, we're optimistic. It wasn't the worst finish, but we did have a decent finish. We made the cut, at least to the hometown lenders. So onward and upward for Chan.
Did you bet him?
No.
You ever gonna bet him?
Maybe. I mean, he's just always like 40 to 1. Like, it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, I mean, I love Chan Kim, but I'm gonna wait till he's on the PGA Tour and he's like 150 to 1 every week. Then it's on.
Well, you maybe don't hold your breath. Chan Kim, you get all your Chan Kim news right here in under 30 seconds. Nate knows more about what Chan Kim is doing than his own father. So there you go.
That's true.
Okay, Nate. Colonial Country Club. I want to talk about 2 things. I want to talk about the Texas talent because Texans love to play at Colonial Country Club. We got a lot of good Texans at this tournament. And I want to talk about the golf course. Let's just start with the golf course. Tell us about it. I'm not even going to set you up. Just tell us about Colonial.
Yeah. So, I mean, we know what we're getting with Colonial, right? They've hosted this tournament this is the 78th consecutive year. First year they hosted it was right after the war in 1946, and they've held it consecutively ever since then. Obviously, there's been some changes. It's a little longer now than it was in the 40s. But ultimately, we know what we're getting, and all of the renovations they've done to it have more or less made it the type of course that it's supposed to be and that it was designed as. Ben Hogan summed it up pretty well when he described Colonial. He says a straight drive does nothing for you here. You have to be able to work the ball both ways. A lot of dog legs. It's a course that has really narrow fairways. We're talking 27, 28 yards wide in most places in the landing areas these guys are going for. So it's quite narrow. You'll see a lot of layups. The rough will be thick. The greens will be fast. And the greens are quite small. So it's a tournament that's lent itself to sort of an interesting cast of characters. We've seen bombers win here in the past. Kokrak has a win here. He's a bomber. Sam Burns won last year. He's a bomber. But there are also guys that, tend to do well. Spieth, Kisner, Kevin Na, who always seem to stack good results at Colonial, and they're just average off the tee, good iron players and good short games. So it's a type of course that anyone can win at, but it tends to favor guys that are really good iron players and really good short games.
If you're a bomber, you need to be able to shape it.
If you're a bomber, you need to be able to shape it, or you need to be able to really bomb it to be able to get it over the trees and hit it through the dogleg.
Which is not a strategy that goes particularly well unless you're just feeling it with the driver. I mean,
yeah,
maybe
well, it's not a strategy anyone really tried until next year or until last year.
Yeah,
everyone kind of tried it last year and it was okay. It kind of worked. Works for Sam Burns.
It did, and I mean, you gotta love Sam Burns at a course like this. This is his exactly his course because he's also strong with approach. I mean, he's a good iron player too.
Absolutely.
But I think that you're going to get a lot of guys laying up, a lot of guys hitting irons off the tee, unless you're Scotty, and you're just really able to hit that thing far. I just don't think you're going to get a lot of guys who do that or who feel the need to, especially if they're strong with their iron game. And that's kind of what I'm looking at is I like driving accuracy because I want them to hit the fairway and I want them to be able to go where they want to go off the tee. I just don't think even someone like Scotty, who could probably hit it over the trees if he wanted to, is going to feel the need, is going to feel like he needs to try to do that because he's also good with his irons.
Yeah,
So-
and I mean, like, ultimately, these guys kind of just play the course like it's designed to play. Like, most guys aren't Bryson DeChambeau where they're trying to like rewrite how golf is played on golf courses. They're just kind of going to do what has traditionally been done. And I think that's mostly what you see here.
I think so too. I'm looking for a couple of different things. I'll list them out. This is what I looked for this week. It's a lot, and it's a lot of different stats. So driving accuracy percentage, that's a big one. I really want these guys to be able to hit it off the tee where they want to hit it. If they can't do that, I'm not interested. Strokes gained approach, because I got to have a good iron game, but I'm looking specifically too at approach at 125 to 200 yards and 150 to 175 yards, because that's where a lot of their game is going to be. After they hit it off the tee, even if they lay up, it's a short course. So it's not like the approach has to be 280 plus.
Yeah, well, it's only
But-
par 72, so or 70 as well, I guess is
par
a clearer
70.
way to say that. Yeah.
Strokes gained around the green. I'm looking for this for a couple of reasons. One, important on a course like this, the roughs, there's water on 6 holes. There's going to be a lot that you have to do around there, but then also like, I think Oak Hill's psychologically probably done a number on some guys around the green. And I want the guys who are pretty confident, because I think the ones who struggle are going to struggle again at Colonial, because they still have Oak Hill nightmare in their head. They might not, they might be like, oh my God, this is so much easier. Thank God. But I like around the green. I like scrambling, because you got to be able to scramble. I'm more interested in that than bogey avoidance this week. And then putting on Bermuda. We have enough.
No, not bent grass. Bent
I
grass.
thought it was
this week.
Bermuda.
It's bent this week. It's the whole reason they built the course. When they built it, the guy wanted to build the first bent grass greens in North Texas.
Huh. I thought I
Yeah.
like triple checked that. I must have just misread it.
Bent.
I'm not interested in the strokes gained on bent grass as much, because there's just not as many statistics. They haven't played on bent grass enough. So we'll just scratch that. But I mean, if you got a hot putter, that'd be nice. So there's plenty of metrics that can kind of judge that. I didn't look at them. Then greens in regulation. I think that's a good stat for this week. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at a lot of stuff. Although I just crossed one off the list. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Now, Texas golfers. We talked about this a little bit.
Mhm.
Scheffler, Spieth, a couple other guys,
Ryan Palmer.
Ryan Palmer. Any interest in some of these Texas guys? Do they have an advantage? I mean, we talked about this. The Valero didn't seem to work out for us.
I mean, I don't know. I think that they have an advantage just because they're playing. I think that like Scotty is, a deserving 4-1 favorite just by virtue of being in this field. He wouldn't play in this event if it was in Oklahoma or Arkansas. He's only playing there because it's a hometown event for him. He may as well. So from that perspective, like I think you got to give him some weight. I mean, him and Spieth are very clearly the two most accomplished players in this field. So yeah, I mean, from that perspective, it's good to have these North Texas events because there's so many elite players based there or that have sort of roots there, that I think that it makes total sense to be sort of optimistic about their chances.
Yeah. I mean, you got to like Scotty's chances always. So
Yeah.
That's important. I don't know. I don't like Spieth's game. His game's actually fine. I don't think his wrist is healed. So I mean, I see people being like, "Oh, he's fine." Like, don't fade Spieth because he's won here before. I think. I don't know.
All-time leading earner at Colonial.
Yeah, that's right. Any concern about the wrist? I'm concerned. I don't think it's healed.
Not really. I mean, I'm not concerned about it because it wasn't his like driver and iron game that sort of failed him at Oak Hill. It was like his short game, which is weird. And if you're dealing with a significant wrist injury like that, it seems like, when you're putting stress on it with the driver, that should be the moment that it breaks down, not like a touch thing like around the green. So I'm sort of willing to throw out like some of those short game numbers at Oak Hill and just be like, oh, it was tough and the rough was impossible. And, Spieth puts himself in weird positions all the time. So I'm not as worried about his wrist myself, just because I think that, it would have manifested in different ways other than like having a crappy short game.
Yeah, I guess. I'm worried about the wrist. I think that's a dumb take. I think Spieth's gonna suck this week, and I will cut that up and I'll put it on the internet. And if Spieth plays well, I'll play it over and over again, so that you have some fodder for your Twitter. But that's a stupid take. He's gonna suck. Wrist injuries take a while. Trust me. I've never had one. I don't know why you should trust me. I've never had any experience with wrist injuries. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I've never played golf with a wrist injury. I barely played golf healthy. But I got a real good feeling about the fact that Spieth's wrist still hurts, and I think you're screwed with that stupid take. Okay, let's move on then to more of your takes, I guess. We'll start with we're doing what's in our bag here as always. So start with the driver. That's our favorite guy we kind of love. That's got anywhere from 20 to 1 to 1-to-1 odds. I'll start with you, then I'll go. Who do you like this week in the favorites category?
Favorites category. I feel like I do it every week, but it's got to be Scotty. I was on Scotty last week. I'm on Scotty this week. I'm on Scotty just because the floor is so high for Scotty Scheffler, just performance wise. Like he's minus 165 to be in the top 10 here. And that almost feels like good value because his worst finish this season is top 12. So if you're just looking at a guy that, I mean, could there be some fatigue? Sure. He's back to number 1 in the world. He's coming off obviously a second place finish at Oak Hill. And he closed really strong with a 65. Like, why not Colonial? Like, why doesn't he win here? Like, I just don't see it. And I'm not interested. If I'm taking low odds, I just want the guy who's clearly the best player in this field. And I think that there is a pretty big chasm between Hovland and Finau and Scheffler in terms of like how they've been playing and ability. And if I was just going to bet a favorite, which I never do, and it costs me money all the time, I think it's just got to be Scotty. I mean, I'm a huge Scotty homer anyways, but Scotty's just got to be the guy.
Last year, he smoked everyone tee to green. Plus 2.
Yeah, he finished second here last year. He kind of collapsed in the final round. So he's also got great court history here. Like, it just makes sense.
Yeah. Sam Burns needed a playoff to beat him at this last year. And I'm telling you, I'm looking at the numbers right now. He destroyed the field tee to green. The thing with Scotty has always been his putter. It's not always super reliable. And it's been okay this year, but I'm heading over to We Know Fantasy, Nate Brown's website, because I'm trying to see what his putting is on bent grass, even though I already told you I don't care about that. I decided I do now. Because Nate does these like incredible models, and like, why wouldn't we use them? So I'm just going to type in Scotty and see what he's doing. Okay. Scotty Scheffler, average 0.194. So he's plus money for the bent grass, 8 rounds. I mean, that's not enough, but it's not nothing. It's not just one tournament. And of course that it should include this week, I would imagine, or last week at Oak Hill, which was bent grass. I would imagine that includes last week. So, if he can find his putter, like anything, if Scotty Scheffler can putt well, he's going to beat everybody else and everything else. I mean, that's the only weak part of his game. And when he finds it, he wins by like 900 strokes. So it's not a bad bet, but it's 4-1. So it's weak.
But I mean, like, you don't need to be a good putter. Like, he's first in strokes gained total, first tee to green, first off the tee, second in approach, second total driving. Like, everything is good. First in greens and regulation. Like, everything else is so good that, like, you don't need to have a hot putter if you're Scotty Scheffler, because you just give yourself so many more opportunities than anyone else.
Yeah, that's right. So it's 4-1. So, we do this as a matter of course, just because we got to pick a favorite, but I don't know. It's just boring. 4-1. Great.
It is.
Okay. If Scotty wins, whatever. No problem.
Exciting one.
Yeah. At least, look, at least you hit one. I mean, that's kind of the point here too. We need to rack up some winners so we don't look like amateurs, which we are. My driver here is a little bit different. It always is, and I'm always losing. Victor Hovland, 14-1. I like Victor Hovland for a lot of reasons. Mostly his results have been really good this year. and he's one of the best golfers in the world, and he's playing
Obviously.
this week. But those stats I looked at, so driving accuracy, he's 33rd, which, I mean, that's not great, but that's a tricky stat to be good at and then also be good at everything else. Because sometimes it means you don't take chances. Strokes gained approach, he's 7th. So of course, Hovland's iron game has always just been stellar. You don't need that stat. If you watch Hovland with his iron play and his ball striking, it's just incredible to see. But the approach from the shorter yardage, 125 to 150, he's 4th. He's 16th approach, 150 to 175. Problem with Victor is around the green, he's 145th. And that will bite him in the ass a little bit.
Well, and the
at this
problem with him
course.
was he was top 50 for a while to start the season in strokes gained approach. So he's regressed back to what he was before when he was the absolute worst qualified player last season in strokes gained around the green.
Yeah,
he's
around the
regressing
green,
quickly towards that.
Yeah, he is. And it's hurt his game a lot. So I'm hoping he can get it figured out. He's played some tough courses that punish you around the green. So, but you can't make excuses for that. That's pretty bad. Scrambling 32nd, greens in regulation, percentage 45th. My biggest problem with him is that he is playing well at the majors and not necessarily that well at the other tournaments, which is real. So T2 at the PGA, T7 at the Masters, T3 at the Players. Jesus, what a major season for this guy. At some point, he's going to win one this season. But Wells Fargo T43, RBC T59, and that RBC came off the Masters T7. So if the smart money is on fading him, because it seems like psychologically or whatever, he's just not as locked in at these after he plays well at a major. But again, I don't take a lot of stock in that. The guy's a great golfer, and at some point, these guys want to win tournaments. They don't take weeks off. I don't even think Brooks takes weeks off, although he might. I don't think Hovland does. So I think at 14 to 1, I kind of like the money. The guy's playing really well. I think this course is built for him, the way he can shape it with his irons. He doesn't even have to use his driver that much if he doesn't want to. He can just kind of rely on his approach game and try to get on the green and then rely on his putter. So I don't know. We'll see. That's about the only guy I'm really that interested in the 20 to 1 range.
Yeah. If I were going to step any further out, I'd probably go Finau. But I think Scotty's probably got to be the guy for the favorites range.
Yeah.
Just eat the chalk.
Finau. Tony, how did he do last week? I don't remember where he was. I think he
missed
fine.
the cut. Or
Yeah,
no, he made the cut, but he was a million strokes out of by the end. He said
basically missed the cut.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I got no interest in Finau. He got his win for the year. The next time he wins, we're gonna be dead.
Yeah, his last place finish was probably enough to pay for his travel accommodations for his 90-person entourage.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's about all he does. So good luck with the Finau one. Listen, before we move on, Nate, I have to thank Ignite 45 Ignacio for partnering with us. Because if you're a small business, Nate, or small business owners, let me just start over here. Good thing we're not on the radio. That was nonsense. Okay. Hey, listen, Nate, ever heard of Ignite 45? If you're a small business owner struggling to generate leads and revenue, then this message is for you. In today's economy, a winning digital strategy is a must. Without it, your business could fall behind and lose out. Many business owners struggle with outdated websites and no real presence on Google when people are searching for their services. But don't be discouraged, because Ignite 45 can fix that. They design great websites that turn visitors into paying customers and create SEO strategies that rank your business on top of search results. Ignite 45 is also the first digital agency dedicated to helping your business reach millions on your social media platform of your choice. If you're ready to see real results and work with digital partners that share your values, then give them a call today at 720-740-1776. That's 720-740-1776, or visit ignite45.com/Godzilla. That's www.ignite45.com/Godzilla. Use the promo code Godzilla to save $100 on your digital needs. All right, Nate, that was a pretty terrible live read, but we got through it.
We got through it. We're good.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. I'm not really a pro at this. If you want a pro, hire my father. But I did do the whole live read, so there we go. Okay, so let's talk about our wedge game here.
We do irons or wedges?
Irons. Sorry, I'm so excited about my wedge. I was trying to skip ahead. Okay, iron. So let's look at our irons here. These are guys who are reliable. They win. They're just 20, 30, 40 to 1, as always. Who's your favorite iron this week?
My favorite iron this week is a guy that has never won on the PGA Tour, but I just sort of think he should, and he's a proven winner. I mean, so I guess there's that. Tommy Fleetwood. So this course just anecdotally looks like perfect for him. And he's still searching for that first PGA Tour victory, even though he's won, half dozen times on the European Tour, he's won around the world, blah, blah, blah. But this feels like a course that he should be well at. I mean, Tommy Fleetwood's always been a guy, he's not overpowering off the tee. But he's pretty accurate, and he's a really good iron player, especially when he's playing at his best. He's an excellent iron player. So Fleetwood's sort of my iron for this week, just because it seems like this is a course that just lines up for him. And this year, especially, he's had an incredible season around the greens, which is like one of the stats that I've sort of leaned heavily on. Is, you want someone who's good at approach. He's 26 in strokes gained approach. And then you want someone who's good around the greens, sort of short game wizards, which I'll get to a few of mine in a little bit, tend to do well here. And he's 4th in strokes gained approach. So in terms of just, where he's at right now, it makes a lot of sense to me that he should, be on my card, as particularly, kind of lesser odds, I guess, so to speak. So Tommy's
He's also
kind of my first guy.
Strokes gained putting on bent grass 0.436. That's plus 0.436, which is fine. It's still plus.
And that's typically sort of one of the weaker parts of his game. And he's just had good results lately. I mean, he was top 20 at the PGA. He had a good tournament, the Heritage, which is a good course comp for this. So I like Tommy Fleetwood here. He gained strokes in all 4 major categories last week, the week before, or the tournament before that, and the tournament before that. So the game is there. At some point, he's going to put 4 rounds together. He just hasn't yet, but I'll be there when it does.
I love the RBC as a course comp, not just because course wise it makes sense, which it does. Also the wind, which there's some Texas wind. We get that at RBC, but it also came off the heels of a major. So you can look at that and say, okay, how they do in the major, how they do here.
And it's extremely similar, right? It's a short par 70, dog legs, all of that stuff, small greens. It all makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So yeah, I think Fleetwood's fine. I've seen him a lot. He's one that people are picking. So it's not that impressive that you would have him. Okay. But I do appreciate your research. And if he wins, I will commend you for always sticking with your guy, because you've been betting him now for about 15 years. I don't know, however long he's been on tour, you've been betting him.
Oh my God. Yeah. I can remember sweating him at the Shinnecock Hills US Open that Brooks won in 2018. I've been betting him since at least then. I think that one sticks in my memory more than most.
Yeah. And back then he was always, because Fleetwood's big thing was like,
he was always 40, 50 to 1 then.
Yeah. Because he'd shoot a 62 and break the course record. Then he'd shoot like a 74.
Yeah.
And he's much more consistent now. I mean, but back then kind of tough. So, okay. I always like a good Fleetwood pick. I never pick him because he doesn't win, but I hear you. I certainly pick other guys who don't win, so he's just not one of my guys. Irons, I love Justin Rose this week, 25 to 1. God, Justin Rose is playing some good golf. So driving accuracy percentage 63%, that's 38th. Strokes gained approach, he's 33rd. Approach from 125 to 150, 67th, but 150 to 175 yards, 20th. Around the greens, 47th. Some other interesting stats, scrambling 36. So, he's just kind of middle of the pack with some of that stuff, enough where he's going to put himself in position to pick up strokes all over the course. And I love his finishes lately. T9 at PGA, T25 at RBC, T16 at the Masters, T36 at Valspar, tied for 6th at the Players. He's playing golf like the Justin Rose from days of yore, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Playing golf like a younger man.
Like when he was like really good at golf.
Yeah. And I think, these guys, they win tournaments. These dudes who've been around, we saw it with Jason Day. Guys who are like, man, he's playing good golf and his numbers look really good, but maybe he's past his prime. I'm not sure he can get it done for me. And then they win. They don't win all the time, but they do win. And I think Justin Rose is probably prime for that. T9, he wasn't sweating a PGA, but he played well enough to, I think, keep his game in rhythm. Golf's all about rhythm. So big Justin Rose guy this week. I don't know how you
Rosy
feel about
guy.
my man.
I like Rose.
Also, he's been on a lot of people's cards too. So I don't know if I'm like super proud of that.
Well, he
one
plays
either.
well here. I mean, he won here in 2018.
Yeah, that's right.
Broke the tournament
That-
record, 20 under.
Yeah. And that kind of performance, those past performances are important, especially in Texas. I feel like, I don't know why.
I feel like Colonial is
but-
just like one of those predictive courses. Like the same guys just do well all the time. It's like Harbor Town or TPC Sawgrass.
Yeah.
It's like you just like look at guys that are like, do they do well in these types of courses? Yeah, they'll play well here.
Right. Well, and they're confident. The course doesn't change much. They don't have to figure anything out. They come in with the same game plan and they do well. So,
Although this is last year, they're redesigning after this tournament.
oh, good. That'll
Already
be fun.
Monday. Yeah, so next year, if we're still doing this, it's going to be a totally different course.
Well, I certainly hope we're still doing it.
Can't wait.
We're like 13 episodes in here, so
I
I
know.
wouldn't get too nihilistic right now, Nate. But listen, at any point, if you want to call it quits, you just email me. Shoot me an email.
Give me a
We'll
letter of
figure it out.
resignation.
Yeah,
new co-host.
formalized, notarized letter of resignation, and I'll get Nate Brown to come on here. He's picked like 7 or 8 winners this year, so he's way better than you anyway.
Better than most.
Okay. Speaking of winners, let's go to our wedge, guys who don't usually win, but you love them anyway. Much like Tommy Fleetwood. I got a great wedge. It's just, that's why I was so excited. I almost jumped the gun. You want to hear it?
Yeah, fire away. You lead.
Christian with 2 A's. Bez Wiedenhout. So my man Christian with 2 A's, Bez Wiedenhout, is 70-1. And Christian with 2 A's, Bez Wiedenhout, has some really encouraging numbers for some of the things that I'm looking for. Bez Wiedenhout is driving accuracy percentage, 63.4%. He can really shape it, I feel like. Strokes gains approach, not encouraging. Let's skip it. Approach 50 yards to 125 yards, encouraging, 22nd. Approach 125 to 150 yards, 27, encouraging. Approach 150 to 175, not encouraging. Skip it. Around the green, 31st, not too bad. Scrambling, 69th. What?
The scrambling thing. That's what he's always been good at. Those numbers are reflective of his ability.
Yeah. Good around the green too. Greens in regulation, he's struggled this year. Doesn't mean much. And then putting, he can be mercurial with his flat stick.
How about this though? I got a stat for you for Bez real quick, just to help you out. First in strokes gained putting on bent grass over the past 24 rounds. And he's not just first, he's first by 4 strokes.
See, I knew there was a statistic there that I was missing.
Yeah.
And bent grass is kind of,
he's better by a mile than everyone else on bent grass in the last few tournaments.
And bent grass is, the whole course is bent grass, which is why I for some reason I just thought the greens were Bermuda and everything else was bent grass. But no, everything's bent grass. So he should play fine. I think he's one of those guys that this is kind of what I think, Nate, is going to happen is he's going to be like in contention on Thursday and Friday. And I'm going to be like blowing everybody up, being like on Twitter, like, oh my God, like I'm so smart. I'm the only one who had Christian Bez Wiedenhout. You guys are all idiots. And then by Saturday, I will be like, never mind. That's kind of what I feel like is going to happen. That happens a lot in golf.
Indeed.
Yeah. but we'll see. I mean, he could win a tournament, you know. I didn't check out his top 10 because I just really like him as outright, but I imagine top 10, top 20 is kind of nice too. I mean, if he's 70-1 for outright, he's probably 7-1 top 10. Usually they shave off
12-1 top 5, 5 plus 550 for top 10.
Oh, see, they have some Bezwedenhout belief as well, because usually what they'll do is they'll just shave off the 0 for top 10 because it makes sense. But it seems like the odds makers like him a little bit more for top 10 too. I think he's gonna be around.
He's
really
also in
would
the
be shocked.
nationality props. If you just want to take top South African, I think he's top of the board at plus 125.
Book it. Already did it. South African plus 125. Okay. So that means if I just do a quick math, $100, 125, it's 225 plus the big. Oh, looks like that's a winner already. I've already spent it. Okay. So moving on, top South African. I love that international challenge there. A little head to head, as they call it. I think. I don't know if they actually call it that.
I mean, basically the only person who's got to be is Garrett Kigo sucks, so he'll be fine.
Garrett Higo?
Yeah.
He pops up every once in a while on someone's bullshit.
Yeah, and then he sucks.
Yeah.
Like trash lately. So.
Yep. He'll show up though. People are like, I kind of like Higo this week. Plus 95 to 1.
I've been guilty of it.
Oh, we've all fallen prey to the Higo, plus 125. All of us. Those guys, like what happens is it's like a sneeze. Someone does it, and then everyone's like, hell yeah, what a great pick. And then it just pops up everywhere.
Yeah, you
and
see
it's
something
like
on Twitter and you like start
bias.
trying to reverse engineer it, and you're like, that does make sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. The long shots are always like that, where it's just one guy who's just like, dude, Maverick McNeely, just a putt machine. And then everybody's like, oh yeah, this is a great course for Mav. And then, T78. And you're like, never mind. At least he made the cut.
Mav McNeely is also a great bent grass putter.
Maverick McNeely is just a generational putter. There's nothing wrong with Maverick McNeely.
You will go to the grave saying that.
He's a good putter.
Yes.
Like he's a great putter.
Good thing.
Yeah, he doesn't have a Twitter. I'm very sad about that. I don't know why. I mean, all these guys have a Twitter.
I think he's too young. I think Twitter's an old man's game.
Well, I mean, you could still have one. There's not an age restriction. Doesn't mean you have to like.
I got a Snapchat, partner.
You think he's got a TikTok?
Probably.
Talk about. Did you do your wedge? I'll find his TikTok.
No, I didn't do my wedge yet. I think my wedge is. It was almost bet regret. Well, I'll go. I mean, Cam Davis is reliable, and Cam Davis is a guy that I find myself drawn to quite a bit, and he could very easily be a bet regret. But like the reason that he would have been a bet regret is because he profiles so shitty for this course. Like he doesn't do anything here well that guys need to do well. Like he hits a lot of greens regulation. First game's okay, but his biggest strength is off the tee. But his only good results this year have come at like short, tricky courses. So I'm sort of like, I don't know, drinking the Kool-Aid on it. Like the closest comps that I have sort of in recent memory this year are where he's like actually been healthy and hasn't just been playing through illness, which he had sort of early in the season, is the Players, a lot of dog legs, small greens, positional golf off the tee, tie for 6th. RBC Heritage, small greens, narrow, dog legs, blah, blah, tie for 7th. PGA Championship at Oak Hill, same thing, tough, T4. Yeah. So, like, even though, like, I look at him, like, if my logos is I want iron players and short game and blah, 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 he doesn't really fit any of those categories. He's really just super long off the tee and average at everything else, or just slightly above average at everything else. But these just seem to be courses that he's comfortable on for whatever reason. And he's been playing great since he's gotten healthy. He missed like 1 billion cuts in a row early in the season when he was sick and he was trying to play through it, but now he's better. So I'm just gonna go with it. I mean, Cam Davis. He's a guy that I bet on all the time. He never seems to win. He's won once on tour, but he's gonna be my guy. Cam Davis. Book it. 35-1. I mean, I ate terrible odds on that, but like whatever. Just
Yeah.
I want to be there for the win.
Uh-huh. Yeah. The problem with him is he sucks. So
Yeah.
like
Well,
he
it's not fair.
it's fair. It's extremely fair. I mean, unless you think that golf is only driving the ball, in which case, yeah, he should win every tournament. Because he's great off the tee. And actually he's 29th tee to green, so maybe he doesn't suck. That's pretty good. But I don't like this bet at all. I think you're drinking the Kool-Aid because he had a T4 at the PGA. And I think this is a guy who misses the cut. I mean, his results aren't steady enough for me to feel really good because he's 155th with the flat stick. So, but yeah, I mean, you're right. Okay. So he's made 5 out of 6 cuts, but I don't count the WGC because it's a match play. So we'll just say 4 of the last 5 cuts. With a T6 of the Players, a T7 at RBC, and a T4 at PGA.
Pretty strong.
Yeah, pretty strong. So he doesn't suck. I don't know why I hate him. I always have. I think I'm just mad that all of a sudden everybody, because he played well at the PGA, everybody's like, I just hate that. I hate that. Like he doesn't fit your logos, and you're just like, oh yeah, well, he played well last week, so he's gonna play well this week. And that's like, I think that's like the stupidest golf takes. Now, if you're playing well over and over again, or and I mean, I guess he is. I don't know why I hate him. This is dumb. I just don't like him.
All right.
So maybe I just don't like the fact that he's 35-1.
Cogent point.
Yeah. Well, not every point has to be cogent, Nate. So, I don't know. And to be honest with you too, like Oak Hill, okay, so 65 on Sunday, but like everything else was basically even. So, I don't know.
That was pretty good.
And he didn't play the RBC, so you don't really have a comp. We'll see. Good luck with Cam Davis. I'm not playing with you. But listen, if he plays well this week, I'm going to pick him next week. So
bottom line.
One more good performance from Cam Davis, and I'm drinking the Kool-Aid with you. Okay. Well, we'll see. So we're going to get to our bet and regret in a minute, as well as our long shot. Before we do that, we have got to thank Rosie's Gaming Emporium. Nate, Rosie's Gaming Emporium. We're horse racing guys. Rosie's has the best track in the Northeast. That's right, at Colonial Downs. My father will be there July 13th in New Kent, Virginia, in his suite. We love Rosie's. And today's show is brought to you by Rosie's Gaming Emporium, which has paid out over $475 million in jackpot so far this year. Actually, that number is way higher now. Starting in May, new members play for free at Rosie's. So sign up for a free Rosie's rewards card and instantly receive $25 to $1,000 in free play for your first visit. Learn more about this promotion. Gotta love Rosie's. Go to rosiesgaming.com. Go to rosiesgaming.com and learn more about Rosie's Gaming Emporium. We love Rosie's. My father, the Godzilla of Truth, he'll be there at the track in Colonial Downs in his suite on July 13th through probably the end of July. Now that they're empty nesters. So you want to get down there to Rosie's. You want to go to rosiesgaming.com, sign up for those rewards, get some rewards cards. It's a lot of fun. If you're in Virginia, if you have a gambling problem in Virginia, you got to call 1-888-532-3500. Okay. We want to thank Rosie's as always. Nate, we got a couple more here. I know Cam Davis, we should probably just end the podcast there because it was such a cogent pick. But I guess we'll keep moving on. So after your incisive analysis on Cam Davis, so putter, bet and regret. Who you got here?
Biz Wiedenhout. I mean, I drank the Kool-Aid with you. I thought this guy perfect. And I bet Bezuidenhout all the time. I bet him like last year at the Masters. Like I bet him all the time. But I'm always just falling in love with guys that are really good at short game stuff on these courses that are a little bit shorter. Because I just think if they can just figure it out like a little bit, they'll get there. But the reality is that I don't have anything to draw on other than the sort of sets we talked about. So this is like going to be a pretty fast segment for a change. But I just I don't think he's playing well enough to win. You know, he missed the cut. So what, he's rested, finished top 25 at the Byron Nelson. Great. Missed the cut at the ISPS Honda, which was a pretty weak field. Played okay at the Heritage. I think that he's good enough to get a top 10 or top 20. You know, he had good result of players too. So like this course looks like it's a place that he'll be comfortable. But I just don't think that like in terms of outright odds, I mean, he's gone from like 90 to 65. Like all of the golf betting world is on Christian Bezuidenhout. And I think that we're just going to watch him play okay for 3 out of 4 rounds and finish T15. So I don't love that I just drank the Kool-Aid on that and bet him outright.
I mean, take him top 20. I mean, you can't do that in Nevada.
I can't. Yeah.
But if you could,
I can't.
That's kind of what I'm recommending is a little prop. I don't think he's going to win. And I hate that we're drinking the Kool-Aid, but it's the right course for him and he's playing well. I'm not worried about the ISPS Honda. It was like 2 months ago in Japan. So
it was a month ago. Time
for
flies when you're having
Bezuidenhout,
fun.
yeah, for Bezuidenhout, it feels like 2 months ago. It was a long time ago. His game has gone through some major transitions since the ISPS Honda. So that's not fair. But I understand. And like, it's the odds thing, right? Like, I mean, 90 to 1, hell yeah, give me all day. 65 to 1, not so much. So I get that. My putter here, bet and regret, is another guy that everybody's on, and that's Tricky Ricky Fowler. 28 to 1. And my biggest regret is the top 10 plus 280. Everybody's fallen in love with Ricky because this is the course for him, right? Driving accuracy, he's rough. But strokes gained approach, I mean, he's 10th. Approach from 125 to 150, 47th. Approach from 150 to 175, 56th. Around the green, he's struggled there this year. So that's a concern. But greens regulation, he's always good, 26th. He got cut at the PGA. I hate that argument that like, okay, you're rested. I mean, I guess, but like, I think he would have preferred to be a little bit. Yeah, he played horribly, and I think he would have preferred to have been playing better and be a little sore on Monday than be like, oh, I'm glad I got some sleep. You know, so, but other than that, he's been playing pretty magnificent. I mean, T14 at Wells Fargo, T15 at RBC, T10 at Valero, T13 at the Players. Those are some important elevated events with tough competition. I think he's basically a lock for top 20 at this event. And if not, if you don't like the odds, which probably suck, take him top 10 at plus 280. I wouldn't take him outright. He hasn't shown that he's ready to win a tournament right now. I don't think he's going to beat, you know.
But he fits that trend that we've sort of identified, right? Where it's like we've been on these guys and we've been like, at some point they're going to win,
yeah.
and then it happens, you know. And we've sort of been talking about that all season. So I mean, in terms of that, like Ricky's going to get one soon. Does it happen this week? I don't know. Will it happen soon? Absolutely. He's playing too good not to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he just doesn't win that much. So it's just hard to be like, yeah, outright, even if he's playing well. I mean, Jason Day used to win a bunch. So like, whatever, at some point he's going to win one because he's Jason Day, but Ricky Fowler, I don't know. And then everybody loves him. So now he's hammered down to 28 to 1. Like his odds can like considerably suck every tournament.
Well, because he's like so visible, even though he's like not elite. He's just like
he's famous.
Yeah, he's just famous.
He's an easy one. He's an easy pick, especially if he's playing well. And everybody wants to cheer for him, so they bet him. That's why he's my bet and regret. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. So those are some bet and regrets here. I've got some honorable mention long shots, but no real stats. That would be our hybrid. Why don't you go first, and I'll just kind of rattle off a couple that I like, and then we will let everyone go.
My hybrid is star of the show often. It's not as long as I usually go, but I love our man Harris this week. Harris English hybrid,
Yeah.
75-1. We love it.
Oh yeah.
I am reticent a little bit just because Harris English for a long time has always been a guy that's like a short course sort of master, right? Elite putter, great around the greens, good enough with his irons, and a total liability off the tee. So these courses, where they play the Sony Open, Wailea, Harbortown, where they play the RBC Heritage, those sorts of courses tend to be where he's best. His results at those courses, TPC Sawgrass, his results at those courses this season, not good. But luckily for us, Harris English is like old, and he's played those courses a bunch, and we can sort of point to previous years and be like, yeah, he has good results there. And he tends to play well here. So that's my sort of like long shot bet. I'm always guilty of falling in love with the around the greens guys. He was terrible in 3 facets of his game at the PGA en route to missing the cut. He was horrible around the greens, horrible off the tee, horrible putting. Those feel more like outliers to me than like predictive, because
yeah, they are.
Prior to that, he gained strokes around the green and putting in his last 5 tournaments. So those feel like just sort of weird numbers. I'm more encouraged by like the ball striking numbers, which is he's gained strokes with his irons for the last 3 tournaments. He's never going to be a good driver of the golf ball. You can just if you just hope he's field average, that's fine. But at 75-1, like I love our guy Harris. I mean, we're all just fans of Harris English. So, why not? We do this just to root for guys we like sometimes.
I love Harris. I wish I could meet him because I would give him a hug and tell him that he's one of my favorite golfers. Not as, I don't love him as much as Wyndham Clark, but
not as great as Wyndham, but close.
No, but close. Better than Patton Kazire. I love him more than Patton Kazire, but not as much as Wyndham Clark. So, top 5 for sure. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just rattle off guys who anecdotally have a good short game and are 80-1 or better, or like 80-1 or longer for their odds. And you can just, if you're listening, you can just take your pick. Just anyone could be fun. Tom Hoagie
right now.
Yeah, Tom Hoagie, 80-1.
Iron God.
Iron God. We love Tom Hoagie all the time. Emiliano Grillo, solid iron player, solid a top 20 finish at the PGA.
I thought you said you were doing guys with great short games. These are 2 just iron gods with terrible short games.
Oh, iron. I mean, approach, I guess.
Okay.
Maybe some of these guys have good short games too, but yeah,
No.
we'll say iron gods.
Okay.
That's good enough for me. And they might not have good iron games, but in my mind, they do. I also thought Emiliano Grillo was on the Live Tour, even though I've bet him multiple times on the PGA Tour. So that's good professionalism there. Sepp Straka, there we go, 90-1, and he also played well at the PGA.
Yes.
Aaron Rye, 110-1.
Ooh,
Always,
Aaron Rye, our guy is always a threat at short courses.
Yes, he is. He is. I think he's solid there. Got a couple more for you. Davis Riley, 130-1. Solid short game there. I know you're off the Davis train, but you never know. A major putter, putting god Maverick McNeely at 150-1. But listen to this, Nate, you're gonna go nuts. And I can't believe we didn't talk about him. Akshay Bhatia, 150-1. You're telling me you wouldn't take a? I don't know, man. You never know. It's not a resort course, so
yeah.
But you never know. Garrick Higo, we talked about him, 180-1. I don't like him. I just gave him a little shout out. The only other guy I really like, Nate, and this is going to be stupid, but I don't know, maybe Danny Willett, 180-1. I don't know. I'd have to look at like his past performance at this course, and he hasn't been playing well. But I kind of think Danny Willett could sneak up there into the top 20.
JT Poston was the only other one that like usually I take on these courses, and I didn't.
Yeah.
But he was a guy that like I thought long and hard about. We didn't talk about him, but we all know my love for JT Poston is pretty high.
Yeah, we do. It's pretty high. You could take a little flyer on Pearson Cootie, 400-1.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe probably not his time yet. But yeah, some of these guys, I mean, that's just kind of just my gut feeling, guys that I kind of like all the time. But Justin Sue played pretty well at the PGA, but
Did.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
I don't know if
Aaron
Sue can
Rai.
work the ball both ways to be effective here. He can really
No, I
only
don't
hit a
think
cut,
so.
I think.
I think Aaron Rai is a nice pick. Thomas Dietrich maybe, but of all these guys, I like Aaron. I think I like Aaron Rai.
Aaron Rice,
Possibly
man.
Sepp. Sepp always plays well at these weird courses.
Sure.
So, he's kind of like a guy where if you got a hard course, you might want to think about
He's like the reverse Seamus Power principle, which is
Yeah.
like the Seamus Power principle is like if it just looks like a joke of a course, then Seamus Power is going to play well. It's like if it looks like an actual hard course, then Sepp Straka plays well.
Yeah, he played well last week.
I know.
I'm almost positive he was the top 20.
Yeah.
He was.
He
He was
was.
almost. I think he might have been in top 10.
I think he was top 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So difficult course. Sepp's usually pretty good because because he's a good ball striker. So
Mhm.
that bails you out when everybody else is struggling. He just can't pick up strokes when it's like a birdie marathon.
Right.
Well, we'll see. But we do love Harris English always.
We do love Harris.
I give a little shout out to Harris. Should be a fun tournament. I'm pretty pumped about this one. PGA was a lot of fun, but we really don't get it's not like it's a clunker this week, especially with Scotty, some of the other guys playing, and it's not an elevated event. So I'm glad to see some of them here for this tournament. I want to thank Nate. As always, thank you for joining us. If you want to retire from the show, just send me your letter of resignation at any point. Thanks everyone for listening to this week's episode of Clubhouse Picks, brought to you by Godzilla Wins. You can download and listen to Clubhouse Picks on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please be sure to download, rate, and review if you like the show. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. We will see you next week. Locked and loaded for Nate. What are we talking about next week?
Memorial. Jack Nicklaus.
That's right. The Memorial.
Memorial
Should be fun.
Invitational. Yep.
Good luck at the Charles Schwab, everybody, and happy golfing.